Sometimes the people you miss the most are the same people your body never fully relaxed around. You think about them late at night. You replay old conversations. You miss their voice, their attention, their presence. But if you're honest, being around them often felt confusing. You monitored your tone. You overanalyzed their silence. You felt relieved when they texted back, and strangely anxious when they didn't. So why does your mind still pull you towards someone who made your nervous system feel unsafe? Visual, person sitting alone in dim light. That question has less to do with love and more to do with how the brain confuses familiarity with safety. And once you understand that difference, something uncomfortable starts to make sense. Because sometimes you don't miss the person, you miss the emotional pattern your brain got attached to. Most people imagine emotional attachment as something calm and stable, but psychologically, attachment is often built through emotional unpredictability, not consistency, not peace, uncertainty. Visual, slow-moving waves at night. You see this in behavioral psychology all the time. The brain becomes highly attached to rewards that arrive inconsistently. It's called intermittent reinforcement, and strangely, it's one of the strongest conditioning systems humans experience. The same mechanism that keeps people pulling slot machine levers can also keep someone emotionally attached to a relationship that hurts them, because the brain starts chasing relief instead of connection, and that changes everything. Maybe they were warm one day and distant the next. Maybe they gave affection, but only after long periods of withdrawal. Maybe every small moment of closeness felt intensely meaningful, because you never knew when it would disappear again. Your nervous system learned to stay alert, not relaxed. Alert, visual, abstract brain animation with pulsing light. Over time, your brain stopped asking, "Do I feel safe here?" and started asking, "How do I avoid losing this person?" That shift is subtle, but it changes your entire emotional world. You become hyper-aware of their mood. You read into delayed replies. You start treating emotional stability like something you have to earn. And eventually, the relationship stops feeling like a connection. It starts feeling like emotional weather, always changing, always requiring adaptation. But here's the part people rarely talk about. When that relationship ends, your brain doesn't only grieve the person, it grieves the pattern. That's why some people feel withdrawal after emotionally unhealthy relationships. Not metaphorically, neurologically. Visual, empty room with sunlight. The brain gets used to cycles of tension and relief, and when the cycle disappears, silence can feel emotionally disorienting. Calmness feels unfamiliar. Even boredom can feel painful, because your nervous system became calibrated to emotional unpredictability. This is one reason healthy relationships can initially feel less exciting to people with anxious attachment patterns. The brain often interprets familiar emotional chaos as chemistry, not because chaos is healthy, but because the nervous system recognizes it. Familiarity creates a false sense of emotional truth, and this starts much earlier than most people realize. For many people, these attachment patterns begin in childhood, not always through dramatic trauma, sometimes through inconsistency. A parent who was emotionally available sometimes, but unreachable at other times. Love that felt conditional. Attention that felt unpredictable. Visual, child silhouette standing in doorway. The developing brain adapts quickly to unstable emotional environments. Children naturally try to preserve attachment, even when the attachment feels unsafe. Because to the brain, losing connection feels more dangerous than losing comfort. So the child becomes hyper-attuned. They learn to monitor emotional shifts. They become careful, pleasing, emotionally observant. And years later, they may call this love. But often, it's survival adaptation, wearing the clothes of intimacy. That's why leaving these relationships can feel psychologically confusing. Part of you knows the relationship hurt you, but another part still craves it. Not because you enjoy pain, because your nervous system associated emotional longing with emotional connection. Visual, notebook, with one sentence written, familiar does not mean safe. There's a concept in neuroscience called predictive processing. Your brain constantly tries to predict What emotional experiences are normal, not healthy. Normal. If unpredictability became familiar early in life, your brain may unconsciously expect relationships to feel unstable. And when something stable appears, it can initially feel emotionally flat. Not because it lacks depth, but because your nervous system isn't activated in the same way. This is why some people mistake anxiety for passion. The body feels